welcome to another call. So today we're going to be talking about welcoming the rejected aspects of yourself. So with us today is a good friend of mine. Her name is Robin. Let me tell you a little bit about her. Robin Bailey is an intuitive energy practitioner focused on assisting you to return to a state of physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual wholeness, moving you towards the direction you want to go in life, confidently and living as your highest authentic self. How does she do this? By activating your dormant DNA using light language and ancient sacred symbols. I mean, seriously, is there any doubt why I invited her to our show today? So as I said, today she's here to help. Today she's here to help us welcome our rejected aspects of self and bring them to balance. Robin, hi. Thank you for joining me today.
Hello, I'm so happy to be here. I'm super excited, actually.
I'm good. Well, I just muffled through what we're talking about. I'm like, I just want to read this fast to start. So I always like to hear a little bit about your story of how did you even get here? How did you even connect to light codes? Like, how was a spiritual experience for you?
Well, it began probably when I was 18, like when I fully became like conscious of moving in the direction of spirituality. Throughout my high school years, I struggled with an eating disorder. And I actually had a period of time where the only thing I ate was an apple and an ice cream cone every day for like 6 months.
Wow.
And that caused me to completely, I was disconnected. I don't remember that period of my life, which then brought me into being able to now be more of a master of being a connector, connecting to myself. And so I've spent since I was 18 and got out of the eating disorder, I've been spending my life trying to figure out how to connect back to myself.
Right.
And so that's really how I got into this. And then the light language came through. Actually, it came through one time when I was in church. That's how it came through. And I just began speaking it for myself through prayer and when I would meditate. And then probably, I don't know, 3-4 years ago, I started really speaking it and started to get more information and downloads on what it was I was supposed to do with this and why I was speaking it. And I started writing it as well. And so that led me into start working with my clients using the light language. Because in my recent past, I was a licensed clinical social worker, and I actually worked with trauma for people. And then I started to pair in my energy healing. Mm-hmm. And really started to see significant results for people. And then started using the light language, which then even opened up more doors, and learning that how the light language actually activates our dormant DNA so that we can open up and learn how to heal ourselves. It's like calling back to that remembrance of how to heal ourselves.
Right. No, and I love that. And the thing is, I didn't know you can write light language.
Oh, yeah. And I don't do it as much anymore, which is interesting. But when I first started, I was doing it a lot, and I'd write it on people. And then sometimes every once in a while, I'll just get downloads and like, this is a code for them. And I've had people tattoo it on themselves.
Well, you and I are going to talk after the show. Okay. So explain to us just a little bit what light language and light codes are.
So from my understanding about them is, and just what I've been taught, is that they are light language. It's not like it comes from a specific place, like some people like say I speak a specific language from a star system.
Mm-hmm.
It's angelic language is another name for it. And so it doesn't always come through sounding the same. And different people tend to speak it. It just comes through differently for different people.
Okay.
And but it's what it does is it's a vibration. It's a vibrational frequency. It's how I explain it to my clients is that I'm speaking to their cells. I'm speaking to their DNA. It's a language that their cells and their DNA understand. And
Mhm.
so through that frequency, it helps the DNA to start connecting. There's a lot of people out there are talking more now that we have 12 strands of DNA rather than the two, and we can see the two, but there's actually like 12 strands, but they're not fully functional. They're not communicating. Our body's not communicating with them. And so it's bringing that in. The language speaks to the DNA to help activate those dormant aspects of the DNA. And
Right.
it's not like you have one session with me and your whole body is fully activated. It's what your body needs at that time. Maybe there's something specific that you're working through. And so the language speaks to that part of your DNA or the cells that need to uh, speak to you to tell you what, or to help you come back into that remembrance of whatever it is that you're working on and how you move through that.
Okay. So, okay. My interpretation of it, we're energy. So
Right.
basically it's kind of like it's activating specifically through energy and through vibration that which needs to be activated today for whatever it is. It's not like, oh, okay, let's turn all your 12 things on and all and the
Right.
way I see it is even if we could do that, maybe it's not suggested because if we're used
we,
to
we would we would explode.
exactly, it's like if we're
Our
not
body
used
wouldn't
to
be
it.
able to hold that frequency.
Exactly. And I remember a long time ago, I had a client who was actually a really good friend of mine. And she was like, oh, I want you to do some sessions on me. And like, that's a whole different topic. But the whole thing was, she was like, just do it all at once. Let's get it over with. And I go, look, I am as extreme as you are, but no, like, no, I don't recommend that. I can't do that. Nobody should. Like, yeah. But, okay. I have so many different things going on right now. So I love, and I highlight it because we will talk about this later. You and me personally about the 12 strands of DNA because I would
Uh-huh.
actually love to do something with that, like a course,
Oh,
an introduction, a
oh,
something.
yeah.
Because I understand it and I know it, and I know I've activated some of my other DNA strands, but we'll get into that later. But then what I
Mhm.
wanted to ask you is what we're talking about today. So
Mhm.
precisely a lot of the rejected aspects of ourselves. Some of us know the parts we're rejecting,
Mhm.
and some of us don't know the other
Right.
parts.
Right.
So how do we actually, let's start with the ones that we're aware of. How from your experience and just your heart, how do you suggest people actually start loving and allowing those dirty parts we reject and we don't want to see in ourselves?
Okay, so I'll tell you just a little bit about my story and how it all came about. And so I really like a lot of the different the Buddhist teachings. I really like reading. Pema Chodron is one of my favorite authors to read. I enjoy how she sees things. And so there's a story about Buddha, and he goes and sits under a tree. And the tree has a specific name. I don't remember what it is.
Mhm.
But he goes and sits under a tree, and Mara shows up. And Mara is like we may call Satan, that's the equivalent. And
Mhm.
so Mara shows up, but really in Buddhism, Mara is all those parts of ourselves we don't like. And that's really
Okay.
um, what what that is. And so Mara shows up and he's sitting there, and Mara is trying to scare him and create all this fear and make Buddha leave. And so Buddha just says, come, sit and have tea with me. I want to get to know you. And
Mhm.
so Mara sat down, had tea with the Buddha, and they had a conversation. And so that's how I see it, is it's a conversation with myself. And so is how I do it is when something comes up. So a difficult emotion. So a difficult emotion for me to experience is jealousy. And so when that comes up, I um, visualize it as it knocking on my door and saying, let me, and then I'm inviting that aspect of myself in, and allowing myself to experience it in my body, what the
Mm.
sensation of it feels like, rather than the story behind it, rather than trying to
Okay.
figure out in my mind, where did this come from? Why am I feeling this way? That keeps me here. But when I invite it in, it's like I see it as in my heart, and it's coming in, and I'm allowing my body to experience that emotion. And when I allow myself to experience that emotion, is what happens is the frequency of it changes. It now has room to express itself. When it has room to express itself, it actually is what I visualize. It's almost like it separates and becomes a higher frequency. Because if you think of emotions, they're a dense
Right.
frequency. And so I always see it as, like they're vibrating really close together like this. And then when you allow yourself to experience it, the vibration becomes wider and wider, and it actually, slows it down, and it becomes a frequency of love. And
Mm.
so to answer your question, how do you start doing that? You start by allowing whatever shows up and inviting it into your heart and saying, I want to get to know you. You can even say, come and have tea with me, and allow yourself to experience it. And
Right.
so it's experiencing it. And so it's what shows up first are those ones that aren't the deep ones. It's the other ones, they come in, and you're able, and then it just provides more room. It's like your frequency gets bigger and bigger, and so then more can come in and be experienced.
Okay. Beautiful. Few things.
Hmm.
None of us ever want to feel pain. None of us
Right.
ever want to feel hurt.
Hmm.
We are literally taught, conditioned, whatever we want to call it. We're taught to not. Okay, let me rephrase it. Many people nowadays are on the positivity, yay, yay, high vibration wagon, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Telling them, hey, it's okay to invite your jealousy feeling and your dense feeling to come in to your heart and have tea
Yeah,
is not as easy as it sounds for some people or
right,
for a lot of people. So
right.
that's the long explanation of the question I'm going to do now. If you're feeling resistance, let's say somebody's listening to this today and they're like, okay, how do I do that? But then they're feeling resistance, and because you could feel the vibration. I mean, you're
Mhm.
happy, yay, yippee, yippee, yee, and then it's like the jealousy or the anger, and you feel that shift in vibration. Many of us are wanting to push it away. No, 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 I
Right.
don't feel that. What can we do to allow ourselves to be like, okay, this is going to be good. We're going to be okay. I'm not going to be a raving beep. I was about to
Yeah,
say something else. I'm not going to stay in that. How do I actually allow it? Because many of us don't allow emotions that
right,
we don't think are good.
right. So it's where I had to start. Is I had to start with learning there's no such thing as good or bad. There
Mhm.
just is. Um, and by not allowing myself to experience certain things I don't want to experience, that feel painful, that I create suffering from that. And so I had to start from there. And so it's not like all of a sudden I just started allowing myself to experience all these emotions. I A lot of it was done through meditation. I started a meditation practice, and
Okay.
it started out as breathing, and then letting it go, breathing, and then letting it go. And so that's where you start, is by breathing it in and letting that energy float out. So like a lot of people, learn breathing techniques. How do you work through anxiety? There's different, breathe in for 4, hold, breathe out for 6, that type of stuff. That's where you start, is you start there. And then as your body is able to begin to adjust, it's okay, it's safe for me to experience these, then that's when it starts to come in, and you're able to then allow yourself to fully experience the emotion without being afraid is going to overtake you.
Right. Right. And I think the other part is that we allow our mind to think we're going to get hijacked with the story.
Right.
And I think that's another thing that we need to practice and be okay with, and definitely the breathing and the exercise, but it's allowing the feeling and the energy and
Mhm.
not the logical thinking of what comes with it, because that's our mind.
Right.
I think that's what
That's,
throws a
yeah.
lot of us off either, or also.
So I'm looking because I had something written here that I wanted to share, and I can't find it. So with as I'm trying to find this, I'm going to just speak a little bit to the thoughts. Um, is to be able to watch. One of the things you can do, so if you do find yourself really getting into those thoughts, is see thoughts as it, just do a meditation on thoughts. That's all you're going to do. It's like, I'm just going to watch my thoughts and watch your thoughts and imagine them like a cloud in the sky, and they just kind of float on by, and then another one comes, and then another one comes. But it's what, when you do that, it's what you start to notice is that thoughts come and go. And so we don't have to grab onto those thoughts. And so yeah, it really does. It goes back to just starting with the basics of meditation and allowing yourself to breathe and be a witness of whatever arises.
Right.
And witnessing is really important because it's different than just experiencing or letting go. It's like you're seeing yourself. It's like you're the I'm witnessing you. It's a deeper thing than just experiencing something.
Right. I know the way that I explain it is, it was taught to me years ago, and I use it because it worked for me.
Uh-huh.
The whole thing with being the observer, we are literally stepping back and observing all those thoughts and clouds that are watching without thinking I am those thoughts or that is my thought.
Right.
It's just kind of like,
Right.
I'm not that cloud, I'm just watching that cloud go by.
Yeah.
And I know for me, that's what helped me when they actually explained it to me. When you become the observer, you are detached from your thoughts and you recognize you are not your thoughts.
Right.
Because let's be honest, if we're our thoughts, we're screwed. Or at
Oh
least
yeah. Yeah, and then it's what's also like taught in Buddhism is that, so first you become, the observer of your thoughts, and then you become the observer of the observer, and that's when that witnessing happens.
Okay.
Is when you're observing yourself observing, and
Okay.
so then it is like your highest self looking at you and just witnessing the beauty of whatever it is that's going through. And so when you're at that, when you get to that space, then you're able to see yourself as your true essence. And even if you're going through something difficult, you can see the beauty in it.
Mhm.
So
And I think when you're that far back,
uh-huh.
there literally is no judgment, because we here now,
Exactly.
we
Mhm.
judge what you just said, good, right, wrong, bad, blah, blah, blah. But if you become the observer of the observer, let's take it a step further, even the observer of that one, it's kind of like it is so beautiful because you can see there's no judgment. That's pure
Right.
source. It's pure love. And I think sometimes, many times, being able to get to that point really helps us in our life, because
Right.
we detach so much from the story, the thinking, the situation, the problem, the judging. It's
Mhm.
really taking a step back and seeing all of it as a whole and understanding it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
Everything's okay.
Right. And to understand that the judgment was really set up to for safety, to keep us safe. We do need to know when we're in physical danger. If a lion's chasing us, we do need to judge that and say, I've got to run now. We can't just stand there. And so to see it as that, is this actually something um, that's is this helping me? Is this judgment helping me, or is it harming me? That's what you're looking at. One of the things, like with anxiety, that I teach my clients is, because anxiety has a lot to do with fear, which is another safety, and is to ask yourself, is this something to actually be afraid of, like the lion chasing you, or is it unfamiliar? If it's unfamiliar, you're safe. If it's
Okay.
actually I'm in danger and I've got to get out of here, then get out of here. So that can be one thing that you can start asking yourself is, even with the judgments, is because judgments have a lot to do with safety. Am I judging just because it's unfamiliar and I don't understand, or am I judging it because it's something that truly isn't safe for me?
Right. I love that.
So,
I really like that. When you said the lion, I'm like, oh, it's a big kitty. I'm like, yeah, no, that's not a big kitty I want to play with.
yeah.
Okay, so let's take it back to the light codes and the light language because I'm curious.
Can I read this really quick to
Oh,
you?
did you find it? Yeah.
Yeah. I think this is, um, let's see. So, okay, this is just something I had written in, I think it may have been a Facebook post. This week has been interesting for me. I started practicing a focused breathing technique and experienced fully being in my body. I felt open and clear. Then emotions of anger showed up to be witnessed. Then emotions of sadness came to be witnessed. So all week long, I have been choosing to be in my body and witness emotions I ignore. This is different than processing emotions. Processing emotions is about working through them and releasing them. I'm pretty good at this, but what I'm noticing is the act of processing and releasing emotion is bypassing witnessing of them. Witnessing my emotions allows me to give my emotions space in my body and be consciously giving space. And by consciously giving space to my emotions, they begin to transmute into loving, spacious energy. My body begins to have room for all experiences. I no longer have to do something to release or to let go. I just have to be with my experience, and my body opens, my body becomes embodied.
Beautiful.
So, so we do have to start with processing our emotions. That's why, things like therapy are really important for a lot of people, is because it teaches us how to process and release and let go. And then by doing that, by moving through that, we come into this aspect of being able to then witness whatever arises.
Right. No, I love that. And while you were reading that, what came to mind for me was I can't remember the movie, the Disney movie.
Inside out.
Is it that? I can't even remember the name of it. Is it the one with the feelings that each character is like a
Yeah.
feeling? Okay.
Yeah.
So, and that's exactly what came to mind when you just read that, because it's like, again, we've been so used to and conditioned and fearing of anger and jealousy and quote unquote, those things are bad that we ignore
Right.
them. But when we really think of them like little characters, they're just playing their role. And if we just
Right.
witness them and sit with them and, like you said, invite them in for a cup of tea and just actually acknowledge them, so much can change. Like so
Yeah.
much can radically change when we actually accept ourselves and everything that's happening as a whole, instead of trying to be like, okay, I like this part, but not this part, but I'm going to deal with this, but not this. And then how do I do?
Mhm.
Because it's all so reptilian in our mind. It's all reptilian thoughts. It's all logic. It's all going in circles.
Right. And so there's actually a study. I can't remember the man's name. He wrote a book. It's called Archaeology of the Mind, and it's what he was I think I believe a neurologist. But anyways, what he was looking at was our brain circuits, and we actually have emotional circuits in the brain, and they live in the same place. Those emotional circuits are in the limbic system, in the same places where the chemical reaction goes into our body and says you're hungry now, you're in pain now, move your hand, you're burning yourself, that type
Okay.
of thing. And so that's why our emotions are so connected to our body, because if you think about emotions like fear, a lot of times when we're in intense fear, we eliminate, we stop eating, or some people actually, have to go to the bathroom. It's all of a sudden they have diarrhea or have to go, urinate, have a strong urge because our body's eliminating,
Okay.
needs to eliminate. And so, same with pain, and that's why emotions get stuck in the body and we experience it as physical pain, is because they all generate, the chemical reaction generates in the same spot, part of the brain.
Is that why sometimes when you have like actual sadness that we tend to say, I feel my heart broken, you
Right.
actually, okay,
It actually feels like your heart is
right,
breaking.
right.
Right. It is because, yeah, it's in that same. So all emotions, and it's what he was discovering though, is that all emotions have a purpose. They all have a purpose for us. And so we have these emotions, rather than calling emotions good or bad, you can call them protective and connective emotions. So protective emotions are fear, anger, disgust, sadness, and grief. Protective emotions are emotions of curiosity, love, caring, and joy,
Okay.
are because they connect us. So those ones, this is my left. On the left are, they protect us from something, and the ones on the right connect us to each other. Does that make sense? So
It
curiosity connects us
does.
to the experience, love connects us to ourselves or to another person, joy connects us to the world. Fear keeps us safe. It tells us when we need to get out of danger.
Right.
Anger tells us, hey, somebody's not being treated fairly, or I'm not being treated fairly. Disgust is that ooh, ick feeling. This isn't okay. Doesn't feel good. There's something not right here. Sadness is saying, somebody or myself has been injured.
Hmm.
And that's what the emotions are telling us. Is what gets us in trouble on both sides is when we over experience. So fear and curiosity are on the same continuum. When we over experience fear, then we stop doing things, where I'm not going to do anything. I'm not going to uh, post those selfies. That's what I'm doing, a 30-day selfie challenge, because I don't like to be out there on Facebook like that. And so, you know, so it completely disconnects us. It's like I'm going to stay. I mean, an extreme is I'm going to stay in my home. I'm not going to go out. We become agoraphobic.
Mhm.
Curiosity in the extreme is then nothing scares us, and we put ourselves in really dangerous situations. It's like, no, I'm going to go fight that bear, or I'm going to jump off the bridge. Nothing's going to happen to
I'm
me.
gonna go pet the kitty, regardless if
Right,
it's a lion.
right, exactly, exactly. And so we don't want them exactly in the middle, but when fear and curiosity are more in alignment, then we know when we're in danger, and then we can be curious about things. And disgust and joy are on the opposite ends. But if we're always in joy, then we're a Pollyanna and we don't see anything that could harm us, like with the disgust feeling. Like disgust tells us we're not in a good situation. And then anger and love are on the same continuum. And anger can become rage, and then there's just like hatred,
Mhm.
and completely disconnects us. And if we're only in love, it becomes pure lust, and then we can really harm people, um, by the
Okay.
way we treat them, because we just see them, because lust, a lot of times, if you're in the extreme of lust, you just see things as objects, or you see people as objects to please you. And then sadness and grief is when they become uh, too disconnected. It's like you can't ever, like, everything makes you sad. You're constantly crying. You can't interact with the world without feeling like you have to absorb everything and take care of everything. And then on the other side of that is caring. But if you are constantly on the other side of caring, you're very codependent, which then harms yourself and the other person. So you want your that's why it's important to experience your emotions when you can viscerally, like in your body, feel the sensations of your emotions. They keep them in line so that you're getting the information that you need from those emotions.
Right. Huh. I had never heard any of that. I love it. I absolutely love it. Because I mean, okay, spirituality world, everybody's like, you have to think love, 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 love. And I get that. And I still agree with that. But when you said it's overboard and it comes into lust, it's kind of like wow, I can see that happening as well. Like, okay.
Right.
But with anything in general,
Yeah.
if we're in balance with everything, because
Mhm.
we are not just one thing or just the other. So if we're in balance with our emotions, we're in balance with everything. In
Right.
my belief, we get to enjoy our life and we get to enjoy our people and we get to enjoy the world from a much better place than if we're just, no, I'm only this, or no, I'm only this, or no, I'm not going to look at this.
Well, the thing is that by experiencing all the emotions, like I was saying before, when we allow ourselves to experience that jealousy or the shame or whatever it is, and it becomes a higher vibrational frequency. There's a difference between love and divine love. And so by experiencing there's a difference in that frequency.
Right.
And so so when we allow ourselves to fully experience all of our emotions, they become the divine frequency of love. And so that's different than just feeling, pure feeling love as how we define it as a human being.
Right. Okay.
And so that, I think in the spiritual world, I think that's what gets confused a lot, is that we see divine love and human love as the same thing, and they're not. They operate at a different frequency.
Right. Right. No, I love that you said. I love what you just said. I wrote half of it down. I'll go back to the recording and write the other half. Because the way that you said it. No, and I love that. And it's true. It's everything we do is a combination. And what you just said, the part that I didn't write down, is it creates that new frequency. So the way I see it is kind of like this is one part of the puzzle, this is another, this is another. And then at the end, it's like you have this grand masterpiece that, if we're talking energy, it's this grand frequency
Mhm.
that is each of us. Okay, question, going back to the light
Yes, yes.
energy code symbols along with this.
Hmm.
We each have our own individual frequency
Correct. Yeah.
on this life, on earth, whatever we want to call it, in this reality. My name is Angie, your name is Robin. We see ourselves as separate.
Right.
But when we're our energetic self, and I have experienced it with people, and I have heard my own vibrational song,
Yeah.
and I have heard the vibration of what for me is the universe, which
Hmm.
was like a beautiful symphony. Like,
Yeah.
so then going back to this, as we allow and we experiment allowing ourselves to experience all these emotions, it's like a note of our song comes back to us because we're not ignoring it.
Exactly.
Does that make sense?
Yes, it
Okay.
makes complete sense. Yep. It is. It's like you're tuning back into your frequency and you're harmonizing. And that's how and that's what I do, is I tune into your frequency and speak to it so that it begins to harmonize with you.
Mm-hmm.
With, you begin to harmonize again, I guess is what
Right.
I'm trying to say.
And that was going to be my question previously.
Hmm.
When you're working with different people, it's not like you have a code of this is what I'm going to do. Literally, what comes through is what each individual frequency needs. So every
Right.
session is going to be different, even with the same person.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so when I enter into the space of working with somebody, I create it as a sacred space. I claim it as a sacred space. I grid it. I grid it in. So, and then I um, ask if I can have permission to connect with you. I ask your highest self, your guidance team, to come through and that's actually who's speaking to you. There's times when I'm doing this with people and I actually can see the different beings, and the words change, my tone change. Sometimes it's a little bit more song, because different people are coming, or people, loosely termed,
People without bodies.
right, are coming in, and they're speaking to you. They're aspects of you, higher dimensional you, coming in and speaking to you, to bring your DNA back online. So
Okay,
it's not me. It's not my guides.
right.
Speaking it into you. It's not me speaking
Right.
it into you. It's you speaking it into yourself.
Right.
That
So
makes sense.
let's go. We might lose some people, but
Yeah.
let's go down the rabbit hole a little bit.
Okay.
So those different beings, let's say me, for example, you're doing a consultation on me or with me or whatever. My guides, or my bodied people with me, my team.
Yeah.
So they're
Your team.
different. Are they different fractals of my soul? So the soul, so that I don't lose everybody, our soul, our individual soul broke from source, and then it started fracturing down into different things. And then we here as human are just one part of all of these fractals. So let's say I have a fractal, I don't know, here and here and here. Those are the ones that we consider our spiritual team and our spiritual guidance, correct?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
And those are the ones that know what it is that I'm going through and what it is I'm missing, because they are me and I am them. And it is this
Right.
soul. So they're like, oh, she's, here.
Yeah.
I don't know how to explain
Yeah.
it, but
This
okay.
is what you need. This is what you need for your purpose here on Earth right now. Is what your other fractal parts of yourself are offering to you.
Okay. Okay. Awesome. And I hate to do this, but I know we are running out of time.
Yeah.
So we're definitely going to have you back if you're okay with it.
Yes, I'd love to. If other people want me back, I'd love to be back. But I'd love to be back anyway.
Good. I'm going to bring you back anyways. So I thank you for all the information, and I want people to connect with you. I did have, actually, I'll let you know, but I'm talking to everybody else. I did have a personal session with you, and I really loved it. And that's why I wanted to bring you on the show, because how do I say this? You're not only a connector, and this I'm channeling, by the way. You're not only a connector to help us, but I think you're here for a way bigger purpose. And I mean, I think somewhere along the line, you and I have talked about this, but
Yeah.
you're here for a way bigger purpose. And I think this whole light codes and light language and everything that it brings is so needed right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yet so many people might still not understand what it is, and they're afraid of the unknown, and they're like, what is this language this chick is talking about? And like, is she being possessed?
Right.
But honestly, I want people to reach out to you and talk to you. No possession required. Let's get that clear. Where can they reach out to you?
So you can reach out to me through my website. It's www.withtheearthbyrobin.com. It's super long. And so on there, there's some freebies that you can get, some different meditations, and then there's where you can book with me. It talks a little bit about my services on there, and it also provides my email, which is just robin@withtheearthbyrobin.com.
Okay.
So you can reach out to me both of those ways. On Facebook, it's just Robin Bailey. You can look up Robin Bailey. If you spell Bailey correctly, I'm the only one there is.
It is differently spelled, yeah.
Yes, it's my last name is spelled Bailly. It's French, it's not Irish. So
Oh, that's why I didn't know that. Okay.
yeah.
Okay, awesome. Well, regardless, I'm going to put your links below on the video so that people can reach out to you, and there's no doubt which Bailey it was. But Robin, thank you so much for joining us today for the conversation.
Yeah,
And
thank you.
I definitely look forward to having you again.
Yeah, thank you so much. I really, really enjoyed it, and bless and gratitude to everyone.
Awesome. Well, bye everyone. Take care.